This is a real show with real people talking about real issues with a real attorney. Now it's time to lawyer up. Look, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I hate family law. So many people called me when I first came into the law business. Look, can you tell me about my mama, cousin, sister, brother, uncle? They want to get this toaster from 1975. I hate family law. So we had to find some way to address so many of these issues. People ask me about child support. People ask me about what to do about getting a divorce, child custody. I don't know anything about that. I did go to child support court one time. I got tricked. Another lawyer asked me to do him a favor and said, look, Mr. Clemens, I know you can handle this. You're an excellent attorney. Go take care of this one little matter in child support court. Once I went there, I vowed I will never go back again. So we're going to have someone who knows a lot more about family law than me. We're going to have a very seasoned family law attorney come in here and let you know the ins and outs of family law. Welcome to Lawyer Up. We're here today with attorney Jacinta Jones, and we're talking about a topic that I really do not like. We're going to talk about family law. Now, everyone knows that I do primarily criminal law and I do personal injury and civil rights, but I do not like family law at all. I don't like arguing about the mama's cousins, but we have someone that knows a lot about that. People ask me about these things all the time. So what I found we had to do, we had to get someone to know about it, and we have none other than Miss Jacinta Jones. How you doing, Miss Jones?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, where you from and where you went to school, all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I am originally from Bethel, North Carolina.
Bethel, okay.
My family grew up in Martin County, so I'm an Eastern North Carolina girl. I went to high school at North Pitt with you, Mr. Clemens. I went to college at Carolina with you, Mr. Clemens. And I went to law school at Central after you, Mr. Clemens. So since then, I have been practicing family law here in the eastern part of the state for the past 2 years.
Well, look, family law is a topic that is wide. It covers a lot of stuff. And it's a lot of things that people just don't know in regards to family law. People come and ask me questions such as about divorce. They ask me questions about child support. They ask me questions about adoption, legal separation. Let's kind of start with some of the basic questions right now, because I can't answer all that stuff. So look, if you are trying to get divorced, what are some things that you need to be thinking about when you on a general divorce? I mean, do you need a lawyer for a divorce? I mean, what has to happen for a divorce? Tell us a little bit about divorce.
I think the main thing that people need to know about divorces here in the state of North Carolina is that you have to be physically separated from each other for a year and a day before you can file.
I mean, a year and a day?
Yes, so you have to be separated for a year, but you cannot file for the year anniversary. You have to file the day after.
See, I would already
So
messed
you have
up
to be
on
separated for
right
366 days before you can file.
Now, what does it mean? I mean, help us out with the separation. I mean, look, I left you, but I had to go back and get my shoes, and I had to go back the next day because I still forgot my other sock. Is that still separation, or what? Or I ain't got rent, but I'm gonna move into my other room, and we ain't sleeping in the same bed. Is that separation? What does it mean to actually be separated for a year?
Well, it depends on the type of separation that you're seeking. North Carolina has a cause of action called divorce from bed and board, which is not a full divorce, but it's what people know of as a legal separation.
Okay.
There's two ways to get a legal separation in North Carolina. The first is to separate physically from the person, where you are living separate and apart in different residences.
Okay.
Moving into a different bedroom is not going to be sufficient in order for you to be counted as separated. However, if you go to court and sue your spouse for divorce from bed and board, then you can get a legal separation that will allow you to do things as a separated person that you couldn't do if you were still considered to be married.
See, you telling me stuff I don't know. See, I don't know that. So you mean to tell me I can be legally separated in the same house?
Yes, you can. So with divorce,
dropping knowledge already.
With divorce from bed and board, you basically claim that your spouse is guilty of some type of marital fault. So that can be adultery, that can be physical abuse, it can be drug and alcohol abuse. But once you go through that process, if you are successful on divorce and bed and board, then you will be considered legally separated. So a lot of times if people want to refinance their mortgage, even though they haven't moved out yet, they will have sufficient information and sufficient documentation to do those things. However, if you get a legal separation and you live together still for the next year, then you still have to wait until you have moved out and have lived separate and apart for a year before you can be fully divorced.
Okay, so you can be legally separated, living together, but
Yes.
that's still not going to count for the 366 days for the actual divorce.
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, you can get divorced and y'all live together for the whole time. So,
Yeah.
So there are benefits to legal separation for those people,
Yes.
but it's not going to count for the actual divorce.
Yes, a legal separation is going to be better for business and financial purposes. Basically, what the court is saying is even if y'all live in the same house, you don't have to uphold the same responsibilities to your spouse as you would if you were married. So if I decide that I'm going to stay in the house and I need to pay the mortgage, then I'm not going to be able to go to my mortgage company and refinance unless I have one, a separation agreement where we agree to what we're going to do with our property, or two, that I have a legal separation decree from the courts.
That will be a very tough house to live in with the legal separation. So now, what else do we need to think about? Or not me. Ooh, I ain't getting divorced. What else we need to think? What else do people need to think about when you start talking about divorce? You said the actual time. Is there any other things that people need to be kind of cognizant of or thinking about in terms of divorce?
Yes, there are several issues that people also should consider. There are other causes of action that come along with divorce, that come incident to a marriage. So of course people hear about alimony all the time.
Oh God.
People hear about property. She took the house, she took the car.
Took everything home, man.
Right, exactly. Also child custody and child support for people who have children under the age of 18. Some of these issues, like child custody and child support, can be handled after the parties are divorced, because they can be handled at any point until the child is 18. However, issues like alimony and property distribution, which in North Carolina is known as equitable distribution, have to be asked of from the court before the divorce decree is final.
So let's do this real quick before we go on break. If you had to think of maybe 2 or 3 things that a person needs to be prepared for when they come into a lawyer's office about divorce, like they need to think about this, they need to think about this, and what 3 things would be very beneficial, or 4 things would be very beneficial for a person that's thinking about divorce to know about or be thinking about before they come into your office to talk about divorce?
The most important things that you need to think about are your children, if you have any. You also need to think about your finances. So any debts that you and your spouse may have acquired, and any assets that you may have acquired. And lastly, you want to think about larger scale implications of filing for a divorce or for separation. Sometimes you have victims of domestic violence who come in who don't think that information is important. Another large scale thing to think about is why you're getting divorced.
Right.
I have had clients who are trying to get divorced at the last minute because they're about to get married. And a divorce can take about 6 to 8 weeks if all you're trying to do is get divorced. So coming into a lawyer's office 2 weeks before your new wedding date, hoping to be divorced in 2 weeks, is really not going to be the good way to go.
Sounds like you called me then, because it's a crime. We'll be right back with a little bit more lawyer up. Y'all be safe. We'll be right back.
know sometimes a burger, fry, and a drink from the dollar menu just won't do? Come on down to Main Street Chicken and Barbecue. We carry the food that makes you feel good, starting with our St. Louis style ribs, turkey wings, barbecue turkey barbecue, candy yams, collards, cabbage, and more. So yes, come on down to 3733 North Main Street, Farmville, North Carolina, and we also do catering. So give us a call at 252-531-7587. Main Street Chicken and Barbecue.
Some people call this place a sacred place. Some people call this place the halls of justice. Some people simply call this place a courtroom. But to me, this place is a coliseum. And I am a gladiator. Just like all gladiators, I remember the great men that came before me. When I walk into the Coliseum, I look at my challenge, I look at my opponent, I look at the obstacle that stands before me, and then I say, let's go to work.
Look, we're back with Lawyer Up with Miss Jacinta Jones, who is dropping some major knowledge. I knew none of this stuff is bad. Look, Mr. Jones, look, we've heard a lot of people talk about, how men get treated unfairly in this system, that if a man gets divorced, he gonna lose everything. If a woman gets divorced, they get everything. You know the old adage, it's cheaper to keep her. Y'all heard about that. Is it really that way? Do men really get the short end of the stick in divorces all the time, or is there some law that can actually save a guy? I mean, that's all you hear about.
That's a very good question.
Oh,
I think that how I would have to answer that is say that there are several laws that men need to be aware of. Okay. Not necessarily that they will save them or that they will hurt them, but a lot of times men tend to be the ones who come into family law type of issues not knowing the rights that they have. One of the most important things that men need to think about would be in custody cases. Men will come into a lawyer's office saying, I don't want to go for custody against my child's mom because she doesn't let me see him. I don't want someone to make those decisions for us. I don't see how she keeps me from my son or my daughter. But what men need to realize is once they have been determined to be the father of their child, they have equal rights, equal constitutional rights to rearing and custody of their children, just like the children's mother.
I got to ask you about that one because, it's like a rumor. I don't know if a rumor is the right thing, but everybody thinks when you go in for custody, the mom is always going to win. I mean, the mom is always going to be the best parent. The judge always going to rule for the mama. It don't matter. The mama is always going to win. So a lot of guys, they have the mindset, there's no need to fight this thing because she gonna let me see my kid. The mom gonna win. No need to take this thing to court. Is that something that guys really need to think? Is that something that's real? I mean, I don't go into custody court. I don't go into the family law. I got tricked to go in there one time, never going again. So, is that real? That guys always lose when it comes to custody?
Several years ago, several states had what we call a presumption, which is kind of like a general rule that said during the tender years or the years of a child's life, probably from about birth to about 7 or 8, that it would be best for a child to be with their mother. However, almost all of the states have abolished that rule. So now what the courts look at is what we consider to be the best interest of the child. So it's not necessarily that the court is going to say the children need to stay with mom because they've been with mom. Mm-hmm. However, what men need to realize when they go into custody situations and child support situations at the same time is that what the court is going to look at is the type of time that you have been spending with your child. And they also will take into serious consideration whether or not your mother of your children has allowed you to see your children. Okay. So if the argument on the mom side would be that, well, he's never tried to see these children, but the dad can show, I've called, I've texted, I've tried to go to their schools and see them, that's going to help them because there's also something known as parental alienation. So if you can show that your ex-spouse or your children's mother has been doing something to keep you from your children, that will help you in the long run and hurt them.
All right, look, so that's the thing that's so scary to me. What can you do if your baby's mother or your wife or whatever is not allowing you to see your kids? I hear guys, she ain't let me see my kids, man. I don't want to pay all this child support. She ain't let me see my kid. I want to see my baby. I don't want to pay money to don't see my. What can these guys do when this situation occurs? I mean, a lot of them feel helpless. They got to pay money and they don't even get to see their child. What can they do in that situation?
The first thing that men need to recognize, and I actually don't want to limit this to men, child support is based on whichever parent has custody. Child support can also be based on someone who is not a parent who has custody.
Oh, stop. You mean to tell me women can pay child support?
Women can pay child support. If the child lives with their father, or if the child lives with a grandparent and the grandparent sues for child support, then a woman can be liable for child support just like a man.
You just said something else. Hold on, a grandparent can get child support?
Yes, I think that's something that we see very often. A lot of times you may have parents who, for some reason or another, leave their children with their grandparents or leave their children with some other family member. And one thing people need to think about are children in foster care. If a parent has a child removed from the home and they are placed in a kinship placement, which would be with a relative with DSS supervising, or in foster care with DSS, then they will more than likely be liable for child support to the state because they don't have custody of their children.
Wow, so that means I could actually, well, not me, but someone, make sure we get that right, someone actually could pay child support to someone that is not their, I guess the baby's mother or baby's father. It could be like the cousin.
Absolutely, absolutely. What child support looks at is who has physical custody of a child. And child support is a separate issue from child custody. That's why a lot of times you may have a woman who will go to child support and say that my child's father is not supporting him, I need money. But you may also have an issue where the child has been living with the father. But if the father has not taken any steps to preserve that for himself, then it's going to be an uphill battle.
Wait, we're going to talk about that issue. Well, we're going to be right back with more Lawyer Up.
Thomas Lynch, No Exit Productions.
Regina Sanders with Sanders Photography. I've been in photography business for 6 years, and the thing that I like most about being a photographer is shooting those special moments that people have together.
No Exit Production has been in the business for about 15 years. We cover the gamut when it comes to media production. We do everything from freelance for ESPN and Fox Sports to our own documentaries and video productions.
I love doing weddings, family reunions, baby showers, anything that you could possibly imagine that you want to share with someone else. About 3 years ago, I decided to team up with No Exit Production. It brought my business to another dimension. We now can offer video and photography.
When we teamed up with Sanders Photography, it was a perfect fit because we were able to expand our business to photos. You can log on to www.officialnxp.com.
Contact Regina Sanders at 252-717-0486 or Thomas Lynch at 252-714-8249.
All the evidence is in, and now it's time for the final arguments of the lawyers. When I hear those words, I feel like a baseball player in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, and I'm up to bat. When I hear those words, I feel like a basketball player with 3 seconds on the clock and the game is on the line. When I hear those words, I feel like a quarterback in the fourth quarter on a game-winning drive, 2 minutes left to go. When I hear those words, I feel like I'm in a championship fight. I need a knockout to win. When I hear those words, there's one thought that goes in my mind. There's one thought that plays over and over again. There's one phrase that I continuously hear. And that phrase is, let's go to work.
Look, we're back with attorney Jacinta Jones, and she's telling us so much valuable information. Look, you were talking about, before we went to break, that a person could actually pay child support and have custody of the child. How in the world could something like that happen?
That's a very unfortunate situation, which thankfully doesn't happen often. But a lot of times you may have a situation where a mother goes and places a child on child support knowing that either the child is living with the father, because they really are only looking at the information like social security numbers,
right,
or that they are splitting the time equally with their children. So when a woman goes, or a custodial parent goes into DSS, they're just going to fill out the paperwork. Then when the other parent gets the information, it's very imperative that they go and talk with the caseworker. Because if it's a situation where the father says she has this child 1 week, I have the child the other week, then it may be a consideration where neither one of them will owe child support because they're splitting time. But if the non-custodial parent or the alleged non-custodial parent never goes to talk to the caseworker, then they could be out of luck. Wow. I think it's very important for people to consider that whether it's child support, child custody, or any other legal element, that you are by law required to have a certain amount of time to respond to any paperwork.
Let me ask you about this paperwork, because people come in my office all the time, especially before you came to the office. They brought paperwork for child support or paperwork for some type of family law issue, and I'm like, hey, this isn't for me. How important is it to actually know how to respond to this paperwork and actually respond to it? I mean, you said something that could, like, you can lose a case based upon that. I mean, how important is the paperwork? Because I don't really know about the family law paperwork which you get. How important is that paperwork and things of that nature in family law cases?
It's very important. In a custody case, not responding to the paperwork can be counted as you admitting whatever allegations are used against you in the complaint.
So you can lose. I mean, they can admit.
It could seriously affect. Say a father is suing for custody from the mother, and the father says in the complaint that the mother uses heroin on a daily basis. The mother knows this is not true, but she never responds. Well, if the father has an attorney, or if the father kind of knows a little bit about the law, then he can go into court and say, well, you're a heroin addict, right? She can deny it, but he'll say, you never responded. And since you didn't respond, it's deemed that you admitted that allegation.
So this woman can be admitting that she's a heroin addict or admitting that she's a crackhead, and she did not even answer the paperwork.
By not denying it.
Wow. Look, now, we could talk about family law all day because I know you know a lot about it. Is there any important issues or important things that you really want the viewers out there to know? I mean, if there's any one or two things that you like, look, you need to know this. You need to be aware of this. What I want you to do right now is take your eyes on that camera right there. You talk to the audience and let them know any one or two things that you think that they really need to know.
I think the most important thing about family law as a total area of the legal concentration is that it's a very emotionally charged area. It is best, if you can, to try to agree to things before there's ever even a problem. Once you're in the storm, it's a little bit too late. A lot of times that's why people talk about prenuptial agreements or separation agreements or even custody agreements, because you would rather have something in place when everything is good than wait till everything goes bad and try to work backwards to fix the problem. So I think whether it's divorce, child custody, or child support, if you can work things out either together or with the assistance of attorneys on both sides, that's always going to be the best way to go. However, you would like to find an attorney that, even if they will help you work towards an agreement, will still be there to fiercely advocate for you and to fight for you to make sure that you get the outcome that you deserve.
Well, I think you just set me up. Look, that attorney is not me. Apparently, Ms. Jones knows a lot more about that, and she seems to know her stuff. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about that, and I appreciate you. Look, we'll be back with more Lawyer Up.
In the game of life, we have many challenges. Sometimes our opponent thinks that they have us beat.
Check.
Sometimes they think they have us exactly where they want us. But then we make the right strategic move. Checkmate. Despite how bad the situation may appear, hire a law firm that makes the right move.
Every morning, I prepare my mind and my body to get the results that my clients deserve. It takes hard work and dedication. At the Clemens Law Firm, we are more than willing to put in the hard work. We're more than willing to show our dedication. And we know that bad things really do happen to good people. Let's go to work. Ms. Jones told us so much about the ins and the outs of family law. There's so many important things that you can consider. I learned a lot. I'm sure you learned a lot. It's not always as easy as you think. Sometimes you need to find someone who knows about these issues. Find a seasoned attorney that knows about these issues. A lot of people just want to ignore the process and not pay attention to it, but it is something that you really need to pay attention to. So if you have a family law issue, whether it's child support, child custody, or anything of that nature, find an attorney that will be willing to advocate for you and fight for you. And I'm sure we found a good one today. Y'all be safe and be blessed. Tune in next time to Lawyer Up.